I think probably whatever the Egyptians were doing, I think they were the most advanced civilization that ever existed. I'm out of line here for sure. Listen, if you're an archaeologist and you're pulling your hair out, I get it. But I don't think we could do what they did. Just the symmetry of the faces of the statues is unparalleled, and they're immense. These are monstrously huge, perfectly symmetrical faces. I think if you just look at it for just the sheer dynamics, the volume of stone that they moved, the precision in which they built it, I really don't think we can do that. Their temples are insanely intricate with 20-ton gigantic stone blocks that were taken from a mountain 500 miles away, and no one has any idea how the fuck they got them.
Nobody has any clue.
No guesses.
Right.
There's some guesses about, oh, maybe the river system was different back then. Whatever. How are you getting that 50-ton chunk of granite out of a fucking mountain and moving it down, even with modern equipment?
They were incredibly advanced.
Incredibly advanced.
With math, with science, with technology.
Certainly with geometry. They also had an understanding of the cosmos. They definitely had an understanding of the constellations. And that's one of the reasons why the fringe theory is that the Sphinx is way older than what they have it currently dated at, was like 2,500 BC, which is still crazy old, right? But what they think is it's probably older than that, maybe even 10,000 or 30,000 years old. And that at these times in whenever the calendar is aligned properly, whatever the year is, it's like exactly where a lion would be staring the constellation Leo.
That's mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing.
To think about that stuff.
I don't know if that's true, though. That's a weird one. It's like, how do we know if, like, from the burning of the Library of Alexandria, we lost so much of an understanding of what the Egyptians knew and what they recorded. There's a lot of weird speculation amongst Egyptologists. Like, they look at they have hieroglyphs that show kings that go back 40,000 years.
Right.
And they look at that as myth. So it gets to a certain time and they decide, okay, now this is Tutankhamun, this is Ramses.
Are we talking about
kings.
Biblical times, or even we're predating that?
Pre-biblical
So we're really
times.
predating the biblical times.
If they're correct, if these hieroglyphs are real, instead of like saying that they're myth because they're talking about kings that ruled the earth 40,000 years ago when we decided that those people back then were primitive. But if they're right, and if it only existed in a few places on earth, well, that makes sense. That's how it is now. You can go right now. You can go to the Amazon. You see people living like they lived thousands of years ago.
Right.
And then you can see someone here get hit by a car because they're looking at their phone.
That's right.
You know, it's like they're both existing at the same time. I think that's probably always been the case with people.
So it's interesting. You've always kind of had that dichotomy of really advanced people and then really, I don't want to use the word primitive, but certainly, these uncontacted tribes and things like that.
Human beings always have inequality.
Yeah, there's always that strata.
There's always something. You're always going to find somewhere on earth, someone who's just way beyond, like, what we think of as like modern society, like what's acceptable, running what. These people have none of that. They're making their own spears.
Yeah.
They're hunting. They have leaves on their dicks.
They're killing animals out of necessity.
Out of necessity.
Because those animals might kill them.
Yeah.
Have you gone to Machu Picchu or Brazil or the Amazon or anything?
The only places that I've been to that are really, I just got back from Greece.
Yeah.
We did Greece in summer. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing, but you're talking like 2,500 years old.
Yeah, it's really amazing antiquity and how old things are.
Yeah.
And then where the line is between what is myth and what is history. And trying to figure that out, which is it's very hard.
I think that even the stuff that we think of as like the cradle of wisdom, like what happened in Greece when they were building the Acropolis and the Parthenon, and when they were where democracy came from, I think that is like a rebuilding of civilization. And I think if you can go back in a time machine, I bet if you could get to Egypt 25,000 years ago, I bet you'd be fucking blown away. I bet they had some very bizarre, technologically advanced society that had a different path they went down. So we went down the path of engines and computers, and but that doesn't mean that's the only way to invent technology.
No,
that's just the path that we've been on. They had figured out some other stuff. They had figured out if they had hundreds of thousands of years of time to really evolve and become modern humans, which is what we think now. They used to think that people were only around for like 50,000 years, like anatomically modern humans. But now they pushed it back to like 200,000 years ago, 300. It keeps going back further and further and further. Think about how quick we went from 1800 to 2023.
Yeah,
insane.